right, let's go ahead and get this workshop going. All right, this is one of my absolute favorite workshops of the year that I put on every single year. This is now, I believe, my fourth or fifth time putting on this specific workshop. So welcome to the 2026 digital marketing plan for roofing companies. Okay. And so there's a lot of things that we do this time of year. You know, we're heading into the holidays. We're heading into the New Year's time frame. We are really, in most of the country, we are starting to slow down on roofing jobs. And so this is like the perfect opportunity, perfect time of the year to really sit back and figure out what worked and didn't work for this year, you know, for 2025, and really to look forward to this next year, 2026, and say, well, if I want to do X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to have to do, you know, specific things in order to make that a reality, right? Well, I call this one of my favorite ones because I'm a planner. I love planning. That is literally one of my favorite tasks that I get to do for my businesses as well as with my clients. Okay. And a lot of what we're going to go over here today is exactly what we sit down and do with our clients. Okay. I have grabbed out all sorts of different pieces from different business frameworks that we use here at Roofer Marketing Heroes. Okay. Now, one thing to note before we do move too far forward, if you've noticed, if you've been following me for the past, I don't know, year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, however long that you've been following me, we have recently gone through a brand change, right? Our main company that runs everything is called Marketing Heroes, and our other brand was roofingsites.com. We just literally in the past month have switched everything over. It's been a year-long goal. One of our goals that we set out at the beginning of 2025 was to switch our brand to Roofer Marketing Heroes. So it took a really long time to really just nail down, you know, our logo and a website and all that kind of stuff. So if you hear me say or see anything on these slides, I tried to go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Saying roofingsites.com, just know that we are now Roofer Marketing Heroes because it's more in line with our Marketing Heroes brand. Okay. I'm just so used to saying roofingsites.com. But that being said, we are now Roofer Marketing Heroes going forward. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this, right? There's a lot of things to kind of go over here, a lot of things to unpack. And in fact, this workshop, I typically split it up into two different workshops. The first part, what we're going to go over today, is more of the planning side of things. And then the workshop in January that we're going to have then is going to be more of the tactical types of things and go over really all of the changes that have happened in marketing in the past year, okay? Marketing is you know, especially in the roofing industry, is a moving target for sure. So we always want to make sure that we're keeping up to speed with all of the changes. I mean, Google changes 10 times, 20 times a day, you know, so keeping up with their changes alone is a full-time job. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. Okay. So we have a problem in the roofing industry, right? In our industry, as well as a lot of industries out there, there's ever since COVID, there has been a lot of new companies that are starting, right? A lot of people are starting new companies. A lot of people are getting the entrepreneurship bug and all that kind of stuff. Well, the roofing industry, our industry, is exactly like that. We've had a lot of roofing companies that have come into the market in the past 5-6 years, okay? The problem with that is that there's literally just too many choices that are out there for the homeowners. Okay. Too many choices for what we can do also on our side of things on what we need to do for marketing. Okay. But just know that there's just way too many choices in our industry right now. All right. Now, the real question is, how do you position yourself then to be the choice versus a choice in your market? Okay. And that's really the key of having a full marketing system, right? That is made up of all sorts of different marketing machines. You're going to hear me talk about machines quite a bit here. But we want to make sure that we are following a good strategy, right? And that we are adjusting that strategy throughout the year. All right. We pause every 90 days And we have what's called the entrepreneurial operating system framework installed in our business. Okay, EOS. This part of what we're going to go over here today has EOS built into it. Okay, and part of those things that we're going to talk about here that are important things have some of those pieces built in. Now, part of that is pausing every 90 days, once a quarter, and figuring out what worked and didn't work, and then adjusting for the next quarter. What we're talking about here today and what we're going to go over here today is more of the goal side of things, okay? And we're going to be setting our goals for 2026, all right? Our next workshop, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be more along the lines of these are the tactical things that we're going to do. And these are the things that we need to do and focus on this next year. We're building, we have all sorts of assessment tools that you can use to figure out what's working and not working in your marketing. But today, what we're going to talk about here is how to set up all of your marketing to be successful for this next year. Okay. Now, the other problem that we have that I have noticed in our industry of the roofers that I have interviewed, and I've interviewed thousands of roofing company owners, okay, and to figure out exactly what's working and not working in their marketing, most of them focus on tactics. And when I say tactics, I'm talking about like getting ranked on Google Maps, right? Or setting up Google ads or getting local service ads set up, right? These are all tactics. These are yes, they're part of a bigger strategy. But if you don't have an overall strategy for your roofing company, you're setting it up to fail on the marketing side of things. By doing so, you're going to have less sales. By having less sales, then you're not going to have as many roofs to install on the operations side of things. And of course, your admin side of things, finance side of things you have less things to bill out, right? Most businesses are made up of four main areas. You've got sales and marketing, you've got operations, you've got admin and HR, right? And you've got finance. What we're talking about here is how to set up the very tip of the spear, your marketing in a good fashion, okay? And what we're going to talk about is how to really build that ultimate marketing machine, all right? And I've got a plane here. This is the plane that I worked on in the United States Air Force 25 years ago at this point, right? It's the jet sitting behind me. If you can see my thumbnail up here, is the F-117 Nighthawk. I worked on this thing in the Air Force, and what I learned, right, and mind you, I didn't know anything about machines and all that kind of stuff before I even went in the Air Force. They break you down and teach you how to do all that stuff, right? What I learned, though, is that, yes, machines work. They work until they don't, and then you got to fix them, right? You got to retool them. You got to maybe it's part of the rudder on this, that needs to be fixed. Maybe it's the landing gear that needs to be fixed, whatever. Machines can be fixed for the most part, but they work, okay? And so when I talk about specific things inside of your business, they should be machines. They should just be, once you set it up and once you get it going, it should work for the most part, right? Okay, so what we're going to talk about here today is how to build that ultimate marketing machine. All right, so before we get into that, who am I? My name is Chris Hunter. Oh, here it is. Yeah, Chief Marketing Officer of Roofer Marketing Heroes, right? That's the new brand, notroofingsites.com. I am the author of the Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you don't have this in your hands, highly recommend you can find it on Amazon, or if you stay to the end, we'll give you a link to download it for free. Okay, to get that into your hands. It's the exact blueprint of everything that we do here. Obviously, we adjust, but this is the framework that we're going to talk about here today. Okay, 336 pages, I think. I think it was a little bit too long, a little bit windy, obviously, but that's exactly what we do here for our clients. We are a member of the NRCA, RCAT, HARCA. Those all stand for National Roofing Contractors Association. If you're not a part of that, I highly recommend that you do join that. Their backlink, by the way, is really, really good. Okay, so good thing at least for that, is to join the National Roofing Contractors Association. But there's all sorts of other side benefits with that. RCAT is the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas, and HARCA is Houston Area Roofing Contractors Association. We've been members of that, all three of those organizations for 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. I'm not exactly sure at this point. I personally have been doing search engine optimization since 1998. If you do your history, check on that. That's before Google even existed. Okay. Before they had even released. My first website, I ranked on Yahoo. I know that really super dates me. But it is what it is, right? So I've been doing this stuff for a really, really long time. Random fact about me, I like to brew IPAs on the weekends. Not all weekends, but some weekends. I like to brew beer. IPA stands for India Pale Ale. That's the style of beer that I like to brew. If you're in College Station, Texas, or coming by College Station, Texas, please let me know. I will get a glass out for you. And if you are into IPAs, have one ready for you, okay? We are on a mission to double the size of 100 roofing companies by 2028. I believe that we are well on our way on that. And we are, just know that everything that we do, the book, these workshops, the YouTube videos that we do, the podcasts that we have, all of this is in line with us helping y'all, okay, and helping y'all grow. Because really, that's what I love to do. It's what I love to see is business growth. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this ultimate marketing machine. Okay. And what I wrote my book on, the 4R roofing marketing system. All right. So the very base, and it's made up of 4 pillars. Each of these pillars are super, super important for the growth of any business. Okay. And honestly, you could apply these 4 pillars to your sales as well. All right. So the first pillar is your reputation. You're not going to be able to do anything whatsoever in your marketing or even in your sales if your reputation is either non-existent or it stinks. Okay. It is very, very important. And in fact, we have tried it over and over and over again with clients and that had a poor reputation that refused to fix that reputation. It doesn't work. It really doesn't, and you have to fix this first. All right. So your reputation to me, is your website. Okay. It has to be high converting. When people come to your website, if they're bouncing right away because they don't trust you, right? Or let's say that you haven't updated your website in a decade, right? And it doesn't work on these $1,000 machines sitting in everyone's pockets, they're going to bounce. They're going to leave right away. So therefore your marketing, whatever you did to get them to your website, it didn't work, right? So you have to be able to convert those visitors, those casual visitors who are researching you. Okay. You have to be able to convert them into a lead. Now, the other part of your reputation is your online reviews. People can go and research you. And in fact, ever since COVID, ever since the lockdown, consumer behavior has completely changed. And in fact, they do way more research now on roofing companies than they have ever done before. So it goes to stand that your online reputation, your online reviews, whether it's on Google, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Yelp, wherever, it needs to be stellar. Okay. And you need to be constantly growing it. And that's so much built into Google these days that if you're not building your online reviews on a regular basis, they're just not going to rank you. Okay. So your reviews are very, very important. The next step here under the reputation pillar is social media. Of course, people might find you on social media, but they also go and research you on social media. If you haven't posted to your social media, and I see this all the time, if you haven't posted there in years, that completely kills your reputation, which is why it's right here, okay, inside of the reputation pillar. I see posts. Well, okay, so let's go back to that. On social media, what if you're posting, but it's all posts about you, right? Guess what? People don't care about you. They care about how you can fix their problems. Okay. They want to know if you're reputable enough to come out and work on their home. Okay. But if all you're saying is the same thing, every single post, and I see this all the time, every single post is, hey, we do this service. We have this service. Call, Acme Roofing. We're great. You're just talking about yourself. You're talking about yourself, not talking about other things that matter to those people, okay, that build your reputation. Okay. All right. So does that make sense? This is the first pillar. The reputation pillar is the most essential pillar of them all. Okay. The second pillar is reach. Basically getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday. When most people come to us, they want help in this reach pillar. Okay. These are those tactics that I was talking about. All right. It's important, but without the reputation pillar, their foundation being set, the reach pillar, it's not going to be as effective. Okay. But what's in here, right, for us is search engine optimization, Google Maps, Google Ads, Facebook ads, content marketing, social media, and the new one, ChatGPT. Okay. All of these things are important in order to get in front of your homeowners in your market. Okay. These are all pieces that you want to be working on. No, you don't have to work on all of them at the same time. You want to get each one of these working specifically very, very well and humming before you work, step off and work on another part of this pillar. Now, if you hire someone like us, obviously we come in and we identify where you're weakest and then make a plan to fix it. Okay. So that's the reach pillar. The next pillar in the 4R system is resell. All right. This is something that almost all Fortune 500 companies understand, and they understand very well, is to go back to their customers over and over and over and over and over again. Okay. Almost all roofing companies that I've interviewed, and like I said, I've interviewed thousands of them. I want to say probably 2,000-3,000 at this point. I have no idea. Almost all of them do not have this pillar at all in their crosshairs. Okay. So you're 8 times the statistics out there are very clear, right? I went to business school at Texas A&M University. One of the first things that they taught us in marketing was this resell pillar. You're 8 times more likely to sell to somebody that has had a positive experience with you in the past, right? As a small business owner. However, almost zero of the companies that we've ever talked to does that. They do a job and they move on, right? So it's a missed opportunity if you're not at least capturing the homeowner's information. And then here's the next step, getting back with them periodically to sell them something else or sell them another roof, right? Yes, and I know that roofs are supposed to be 10, 20 years and all that kind of stuff, and it's very infrequent. But at the same time, if a storm comes through and you're not top of mind because you haven't bothered to stay in front of them, if you're not top of mind, they might not remember who installed their roof. Guess what? They're going to go back to that $1,000 machine sitting in their pocket and go find somebody. Okay. So staying in front of the homeowners is important. But the other part of that is selling other services. Okay. This is where the Fortune 500 companies get it right? Walmart understands that they can sell you product A, product B, product C, product D, and that they'll just keep on selling. Okay. Amazon, same thing. I understand y'all aren't Amazon, but at the same time, almost all roofers sell siding, windows, gutters, solar. But I guarantee if I asked right now, very few of y'all have gone back to those homeowners that you have helped before in the past and ask, hey, do you need siding, windows, gutters, solar? Because we sell that, right? And it's just a simple conversation starter there. So that's called database reactivation, and we use it for cross-selling. Okay. In this pillar, we also have retargeting ads. And I put that in here simply because if you get people to your website, okay, there's this technology nowadays and has been out there for 15 years, I think at this point, for small businesses. Before that, it was only reserved for the bigger companies. All right. But the retargeting ads are basically if someone goes to your website, your ad follows them around. All right. For a specific amount of time. Now, we want to do that not only on, let's say, Facebook or Instagram or wherever that they came from. We want to also do that on ESPN, right? We want to do it on Fox.com. We want to, do it on MSN. Everywhere that they go, they should see your ads. That makes you completely omnipresent in your market. Okay, so that's what retargeting ads are. It's a positioning piece to make you the choice versus a choice in your market. Okay. You have other things in here like lead nurturing. What is lead nurturing? Well, as people come into your sales funnel, into your marketing funnels, it is way more effective to nurture them to get them to the next logical step. Okay. If you come into our funnels, right? If you've downloaded my book, if you've downloaded our checklist, you will understand that we are constantly in front of you. We do that for a purpose. We do that to nurture you to get you to the next logical step. However, very few roofing companies understand this principle, right? And are only going for the first phone call. Once they've gotten a phone call or someone filled out a form, they're moving on. But it's way better for the sales side of things if you get them to that next logical step by nurturing them, by sending them case studies, by sending them pictures of homes that you have done, jobs that you've done, sending them testimonials from your other homeowners, sending them all of these things that help to nurture that relationship, because that's really what it all comes down to, is that it's a relationship. Okay. You can do this via email. You can do it via SMS, right? We have a platform that does all of this, and we just plug your stuff in and it sends it out. Okay. However, what happens when you send an estimate? Do you just call them later? Right? Maybe once, twice. At least all the people that I've interviewed, that's literally all that they do, right? Maybe they call them once or twice. But the latest research says that you have got to chase people down nowadays. You've got to. I read a study from the Harvard Business Review. I think it was about a year ago at this point that it came out. But their research said that you have to actually chase people down and have touches with them 15 times before they will make a choice. No roofing companies do that. None of them. Right? We have one roofing company that we work with that does that very well by hand, in person. Okay. They have a 40% close rate on their jobs of every cold lead coming in from the internet. Okay. They're growing. All right. So lead nurturing is part of that system. Okay. To get people to that next logical step. Monthly newsletter, we use that simply to stay top of mind. Right? When that hailstorm comes through, when that windstorm comes through, when whatever happens, a hurricane, if you're in Florida or Texas, Louisiana, wherever, right? Hurricane comes through, you want to be top of mind. You want to be the first person that they think of. And the way to do that is this ultimate leverage tool called a monthly email newsletter. You just stay consistent with it, share out all of the stuff that you've done in the past month. And it's easy, right? It's easy. It's not complicated, right? But very few roofing companies do this. Next pillar, referral. Referrals are gold. We all love referrals. Okay. This is how we usually start our businesses at the beginning. We get other people to send us homeowners, right? Very few of the companies that I have interviewed actually even know what their referral program is or even have one at all. So with this one, it's super, super important because we love those referrals. We love them, right? But yet very few of y'all have a system to where you're even asking for referrals or that you've published your referral program on your website. Your employees know about it. Everybody that comes through and works with you understands, that you pay out, let's say, a $250 Visa gift card on every referral that's given that leads to a new roof. Okay. That's a typical referral program that we recommend. This is a way that you could actually exponentially grow your business just by having this one piece right. But of course, your reputation obviously still has to, be stellar. Now, I'm going to throw something else out there. And I did a workshop 2-3 months ago. I can't remember now at this point on how to build a referral program. You can go back to YouTube and go watch that if you want to. But how good are you at getting referrals from insurance agents or from realtors? Okay. We built a way for you to get referrals in on a steady basis and position you as the roofer for those people. Okay. Go back and watch that workshop. I gave you absolutely everything that you need, a whole workbook with prompts that you can use with ChatGPT in order to help build that program for you. But it's super important, right? I mean, if we want to grow, this pillar right here can massively do that. So in this pillar, I, of course, have the referral system itself, but I've got social media in here, okay? Because guess what? Social media, actually should belong in every single one of these pillars. Okay. People go to social media and so it's easy to get in front of them. They're just not going there to search for you. Okay. They're going to Google. And so that's why we focus mainly on Google with most of our marketing systems. So I outlined this system. We're going to go way more in depth in January on this, right? We're going to help you identify exactly what's wrong with your marketing and help you fix that. So no worry, Ron, about taking off. No problem. All right. So before you do, though, I was going to tell him, download the workbook. Okay. So here's how you download the workbook. Go to roofermarketingheroes.com/workbook. I'll leave the QR code. You can take that $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket, hit the QR code and download it. If you're watching it on YouTube later, go ahead and do the same thing. But this is what we're going to mainly go over really for the next 15, 20 minutes here, right? All right. So the first part of this is it's going to take you to a PDF that we've created that has has the workbook in it. And I'm looking over here to my right because now this is all over on that screen. Okay. So as we scroll down, it's got the 4R roofing marketing system in it, of course. But the main meat here is of this workbook is right here on page number 3, where it says build your 2025. I should have switched that to 2026, right? 2026 marketing plan. Click the links below. All right. So just click on each of these links and it's going to open up a few items. The first one, and we're not going to go over this here too much in detail, where this is going to be next workshop, is essentially our checklist. This is the internal checklist that we use for every client coming in. This is also something that we go to periodically just to make sure that we are doing everything that we say we're doing for our clients. Okay. And it helps us pinpoint, more importantly, it helps us pinpoint exactly what's wrong in your marketing. Okay. All of this is based off of the 4R system. Okay. So as you check these off, if you notice, it changes the score here. All right. And you can just go down the list. Do you have your phone number in the upper right-hand corner of every page? Are you using authentic images? Check that off, and so as you check or uncheck these things, it changes the scores on all of these. The results page actually will give you an idea of the bigger pieces of what's broken in your marketing. Okay. And what's not working. And what I suggest you do is go through these, fix your reputation first, then work on reach, then work on resell, and then work on referral. So those are the 4 main steps, okay, in order to fix your marketing. You can prioritize these. If you notice, we've got a column over here. I suggest that you work on the ones that you're lowest scoring on. Okay, so let's say reputation probably should be number 1 for most of y'all. Okay. Number 2 for website, and number 3 possibly for tracking, making sure that you got all the tracking codes set up from Google ads. If you're running Google ads, Facebook, the metapixel, if you're running, Facebook ads. Okay. Resources tab over here has a whole bunch of things in here, things that we suggest, like Canva for graphic design. The appointment machine is our CRM. Of course, if you're in Job Nimbus or AccuLinks, those are great too. MailChimp for newsletters, if you're sending newsletters out on their own. Bird Eye for helping you fix that reputation, right? These are all just tools of the trade that we use. We have combined a lot of those into our CRM, the appointment machine, but just know that all of these are available out there. Okay, so that's the checklist. Like I said, we're going to go in more depth on this in January. For now, what I want to focus on here is the next ones. Okay, so click on the Marketing Traction Organizer tab here, and really we're going to go through the example. Let me see, which one is that? I think it's this one. So what is a marketing traction organizer? So this is straight out of Entrepreneurial Operating System. They call it the VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer, right? I took a portion of that, called it the Marketing Traction Organizer, so that I could take that and help plan out for the year and really for 3-5 years down the road, right? and work backwards, because that's really what good planning does. Okay. You start with the end in mind, right? I think Stephen Covey said that in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said always start with the end in mind and work backwards. Okay. So with this, we start with our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. I shared my BHAG with y'all at the beginning of this. Our BHAG is that we want to double the size of 100 roofing companies by 2028. Okay. So with goals, we want to be very specific with them, right? We want to make sure that we have a time attached to them. We want to make sure that they're actually attainable and that they're measurable, right? So a SMART goal, specific, measurable, attainable. What did the R stand for? I don't remember. But T is for the time. Okay. All right. So in this one, and this is just an example that we put out, that we put together for Acme Roofing, right? Just a generic roofing company name. Hopefully that you don't own Acme Roofing in your area, but we use that in-house here for this time of the year as we're talking about a generic roofing company here. Okay, so BHAG here is that they want to do 2,000 roof replacements per year, right? That's a lot, by December 31st, 2028. Your big, hairy, audacious goal should be something so big that you really don't know how to get there, okay? At this point in time right now. This could be set out for 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. A real BHAG is supposed to be, according to Entrepreneurial Operating System, is supposed to be 10 years. Most companies can't really fathom and think that far ahead, right? So for us, we like to think 6 years ahead, okay? So, or 5 years ahead. So let's say that this one is going to be 2031. Actually, it should be 2030, 4 or 5 years, right? Because you've got 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, right? So at the end of that, I like to put in here the actual date, right? December 31st. I like the end of the year, kind of like this time of the year right now. 2,000 roofing replacements. So in order to do that, your measurable, right, is to 10x this person, right? This fictional roofing company. In order to get there, they would have to 10x their company to $30 million a year. Okay. Now, working backwards from that, 3 years from now, and by the way, I'd like to work this way, right? And before I actually go into the goals and rocks and stuff like that, I like to set the future dates first, set the revenue targets, set the profitability target, and then set the measurables based off of those. Okay. I like to do that in the 3-year, 1 year, and quarterly rocks first. Then you start thinking about your goals for 3 years, then your goals for the year, and then rocks, which a rock is basically a big project, essentially, that you're going to have to undertake in order to make the goals happen. Okay. All right. So in this one, let's say future date is 12/31/2029. Future the revenue, right? Annual revenue, they want to be at $15 million by that point in order to make that BHAG a reality. Okay. Profit 20%. So profit on that 15 million would be 3 million. Okay. Measurables, they would need 1,000 roof replacements based off of their annual or their average ticket size. Okay. Which is $15,000. Okay. Working backwards from that 3-year picture on this one, all right, 1 year by the end of 2026, in 12/31/2026, they need to be at 6 million. Okay. And they need to have a $1.2 million profit with a 20% overall profitability. And then measurables on that is 400 roof replacements. Quarterly, all right, breaking it down even further, by the end of the first quarter, right, by 3/31/26, they want to be at 600,000 in revenue. Okay. And by the way, we determined that was about 10% of their annual revenue, because quarter one is typically a little bit slower, right? Quarter two, quarter three are typically our busy seasons. Okay. For most roofing companies in the US. If you're in the South, if you're in Florida, maybe it's a little bit more even. But if you're up north, like a lot of our clients, then this time of the year is a very slow time of the year. Okay. And quarter 1 is also that way, right? January and February, honestly, you can't even install, shingles at that point below 40 degrees. So you're going to be a little bit slower there. Okay. So 20% profitability is 120,000. And then measurables on this quarter is 40 roof replacements in order to hit this goal here. Okay. So this fictional company is in Texas. So coming back here to this 3-year picture, we determined that we would need to have locations set up in all of the major metros, okay, in order to actually make this $15 million picture up here a reality, okay? So we put in the very first goal was locations in every major metro in Texas. Next goal was identify and purchase 4 roofing companies, right? Because sometimes it's easier to go into a market by purchasing that company versus actually building it up from scratch. Okay. Your reputation is already set and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, there's a lot of boomers, for lack of a better word, that are retiring right now, right? That have their roofing company. So it might be a little bit easier to go in and purchase that company. Okay. So they identified that that's what they wanted to do. In order to make all of this happen up here, they also determined that they're going to have to generate 4,000 leads. Okay, based off of their conversion rates. Okay, and they need to hire a CEO to replace Bob. Bob is the fictional owner of this company, and he does not want to do it for the rest of his life. And he determined that's what he wants. In 3 years, he wants to be replaced by a CEO, and he can become an owner only. Okay. So working backwards from that 3-year picture, then we've got our 1-year plan here. Okay, so in order to make this a reality in the next year, they're going to have to open up a new location in Dallas-Fort Worth area, okay, which, by the way, is one of the most competitive areas in the entire world. So good luck on that one. But that's what he decided he was going to do, all right? Next, identify and purchase 1 roofing company, all right? If you're going to purchase a roofing company, you're either going to have to go through a broker, which I know a few. If you need introductions, I know a few brokers in the roofing industry. But if you got to identify them in order to purchase them, right? So that's what he has to do here. They have to generate 1,600 leads, elevate Joseph, right, to COO. That's this fictional company's foreman. All right. A COO is a chief operating officer. Okay. Typically you want to elevate people that are already in your organization versus bring someone else in. Okay. That's typically way more feasible. It's way better. Okay. To do that. Fully implement EOS. That's part of what we're talking about here, entrepreneurial operating system. And then they wanted to fully implement the 4R roofing marketing system, right? Everything that we just went over. This quarter, okay, they decided that in order to make all of these happen over here for their 1-year plan, the very first thing that they'd have to do this quarter is to research a roofing company in DFW. Next, they have to redesign their website because, that's their base pillar, right? They would have to start SEO campaigns, okay, in order to actually get in front of more people today, right? Did I just mess up my microphone by moving it? Can y'all still hear me? Okay, good. And then number 4, generate 160 leads. Okay. Because remember, this is 10% of annual revenue here for this is what they anticipate. So 160 leads, 10% of those 1,600 leads. Okay. Start Google Ads campaigns, right? Get in front of more people, fix their reputation, meaning that they would have to start getting more reviews, go back to all of their former people that they've worked with before, ask their friends, family, anyone and everyone to leave a review, right? So that they could fix their reputation. Next, implement first stage of EOS, right person, right seat. That's what RPRS stands for, meaning that you have the right person in the right seat in your organization. And set a vision for the company, because if you don't know where you're going, it's really hard to get there, okay? So you have to set your vision. And that's part of that is letting your employees know what your BHAG is. Okay. And then of course, getting into the rhythm of weekly meetings. These are called level 10 meetings in the entrepreneurial operating system world. Okay. All right. Does this all make sense? So basically we're just working backwards here. All right. So this is the marketing traction organizer. The next one that we're going to work on here is our budget worksheet. The budget worksheet again works backwards. Okay. The way that we design this. Okay. So the first step, you want to review what you did last year. Okay. So let's say that this fictional company again here did $3.4 million last year. They did 438 sales. And by the way, all of these here are items that you would put in, okay, on this worksheet. And by the way, if you clicked on those links, it took you to a thing that said make a copy of this. Just make sure you put it in your own Google Drive there. These are Google documents, so it's a lot easier to get to, in my opinion, than anywhere else. Okay, total ad spend. They spent $21,000 last year. Okay, Google ad spend was 6,000. LSAs, local service ads, was around 12,500, and Facebook ads, they spent 2,600 on that. Okay. Once these are all put in here, these numbers are all put in here, and these could obviously be zeros, for you. And let's say that you built your entire company based off of referrals and you haven't done any ads, you haven't done any search engine optimization, you haven't done any of those things yet, that we were talking about earlier. Those could be zeros. All right. What it's going to do is it's going to give you averages over here. So your average sale price for this company was $7,762 because there's repairs built into everything, right? They're not all new installs like re-roofs like we all want. So their average ticket was 7.7K. Okay. Sales conversion rate for them was around 30%, which is really, really, really good. Okay. And they had a percentage of revenue spent was 0.64%, which is really, really low, by the way. Okay. Average cost per lead was $14 and almost 50 cents. Average cost per acquisition, meaning that what it actually costs to get that new homeowner, that new roof, that repair even, right? It costs close to $50. This is an important number to know in your marketing because you got to know what you are willing to spend up to. Okay. So most clients, when they first come to us, they're spending upwards of $200-300. Some markets that we have talked with, they're upwards of $400 or $500 per customer to acquire them. Okay. We want that obviously lower, and there's lots of ways to get there, but it's a good number for you to know for your marketing heading into this new year. Okay. All right. So that's the first tab, review your prior year. Next tab, lead generation target. All right. Where do you want to get to? Okay. We said we did 3.4 over here. Let's say, all right, well, let's double it. Okay. Let's get to 7 million. Okay. It's totally doable if your marketing is set right and your sales funnels are all working and humming very well. Right. If, however, you want to get to that point in your sales, and we've seen this too. If your sales is not good, let's say that like one of our clients has a 10% close rate because his salespeople need to follow up more. Okay. At a 10% close rate, you're going to have to spend a lot more on marketing in order to get where you want to go. Okay. So 7 million, that means that your monthly revenue target would be 583,000. Okay, is what you're trying to get to every single month. And that's averaged out divided by 12. So we already know that quarter one is going to be slow. We already know that quarter four is going to be a little bit slower, right? This is on average what you would need to be at. Okay, so what's your average job value, right? We just plug in the number that we had from over here, 763. Actually, this is actually pulling it in directly. Okay, so the formula there is pulling that in already for you, so you don't have to fill that in. How many service calls would be required in order to hit your monthly goal? Well, according to this, 75 per month, okay, in order to hit this monthly goal of 583,000, okay? That's step one, determining what it's going to take. Step two, right, number of leads that are required to hit that target, right? What's your average conversion rate? And again, this is being pulled in from your numbers over here in this first tab, all right? But the lead generation We want to make sure that we're converting high. All right. So this company is actually performing very well at 29%. Okay. And so based off of that, they need 257 leads per month. Okay. Totally doable in most markets. Average cost per generated lead is $14. Okay. And again, this is being pulled from over here, right? Average cost per lead, $14.48. Monthly budget required in order to hit that target is $3,726. Okay, that's what they would need to be spending in order to reach this target right here, based off of your average cost of generated lead. Now, one thing to note real quick here is that this number is always going to go up. Every single year as you review your marketing, you're going to notice that, oh, why is my cost per lead going up? Well, guess what? It's because of Google, right? It's because of Facebook. All of these places, that's how they make their money. They're going to constantly be raising the bar for what it costs in order to get in front of customers. Okay. That's just the cost of doing business there. It's not inflation. It's part of the platform. The more people that are there, the more demand that is there. You know, it's supply and demand. Okay. So it's always going to be going up unless you find a new platform. Okay. That new platforms typically you're going to spend a lot less on those platforms for advertising. Okay. TikTok, let's say, Pinterest, let's say. Now, whether they work or not, that's a whole other story, right? And that's where you try to get that cost per lead down low. But mature platforms like Google Ads, like Facebook, like Instagram, they're very mature at this point. And as far as advertising platforms, and those costs per lead are going to be going up and up and up and up and up, always. Okay. All right. So where were we? Monthly budget in order to hit that is 3,726, and monthly percentage of budget is 0.64. Okay. This is all just math that's being done, you know, on the fly by the worksheet. Okay. So that's the lead generation target. We want to know how many leads do we need and what it's going to cost in order to get those. All right. Budget allocations. This is where we start getting into the weeds here. And this is where you can really start playing around with these numbers. And I made this spreadsheet I made it where you can go in and really play around with these things. Okay. So the first step here, all of the white cells, and I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but all of the white cells are things that you can and probably should manipulate. Okay. That you should put your numbers in. I believe some of them are being pulled from your other tabs over here, like this $7 million, you know, for your, where you want to be. Right. So if we want to double this next year, that's going to be 7 million, right? Marketing budget, right, is 2%. We can play around with this number. NRCA, National Roofing Contractors Association, recommends that you spend anywhere from 3% of your overall revenue to 10% of your overall revenue on your marketing. Okay. I say, this is me, spend where you want to go. So if you want to get to 7 million, if you want to get to this 583 per month, right? We got to put, just like in a truck, we've got to put enough fuel in the tank in order to get where we want to go. I wouldn't go try to drive from College Station, Texas to Dallas on a quarter tank of gas in my truck. I wouldn't get very far, you know? So I want to put in a full tank in order to get there, right? So the same thing applies to your marketing. I say that you spend enough to get where you want to go for your marketing itself. Okay. So what I mean by that is that 3% is a very low side of your marketing budget. 10% is much higher, obviously. Okay. And 10% of 7 million is way different than 10% of 3.4 million. Okay. So hopefully that's making sense. I say if you're not well known in your market, then you need to put a little bit more money into your marketing, be more aggressive on your marketing, okay, in order to get in front of more people, okay? If, however, you're getting referrals in, you might be able to get away, and you've been in business for 20, 30 years, whatever, you might be able to get away with a lower percentage, okay? So this is where we would play around with that. All right, so let's say this company's mostly known, we're going to put in about 5% here. All right. And as you notice, that changed all these numbers over here. All right. So we're going to be a little bit more aggressive in this market because we are trying to double, right? So we're going to say, okay, 5% of that $7 million is what I'm going to budget today for next year. Okay. Total marketing budget, right? This might scare y'all, is $350,000 budgeted for next year. All right. For this company. Average monthly budget of $29,166. This is totally doable, by the way. And if you're spending, let's say, $2,000 a month right now on your marketing, and you're looking at this number and saying, Chris, I can't do that. Okay, I get it. Then slowly ramp up or fastly ramp up your marketing. Do that through local service ads, because those things, the leads coming from local service ads are gold. Okay. There are people that are contacting you. It's almost Home Advisor, right? Or Angie's, but through Google. And it's going just to you. All right. Not to 5 and 10 other roofing companies. You can build a whole $1 million business plus based off of local service ads. Okay. All right. So where I was going at there is don't be afraid of that budget. Ramp up to it. Okay. All right. So allocated to online marketing. This is where we really start playing around with our numbers here. Okay. So you've got online marketing, you've got offline marketing, and repeat business. Online marketing, that's pretty explanatory. That's Google ads, that's Facebook ads, that's search engine optimization. That's all the stuff that we talked about earlier, right? Offline marketing is all of your other things, a billboard. If you've got a billboard, a sign on the Little League's outfield, right? It's the wraps of your trucks. It's your signs. It's your door hangers. That's all offline marketing. Okay. You've got to create a budget for your marketing. This is the place to do it. Okay. So let's say this company, right, actually said, you know what? I'm going to spend 80% of my budget of that $350,000 on online marketing. I'm going to invest a little bit more in my truck wraps, right? And into yard signs and offline marketing. I'm going to spend a little bit more money, let's say, on sending postcards out to neighborhoods. Okay. Or I'm going to donate to the local, Little League. I'm going to be the main sponsor there, whatever that it is. Right. So we're going to allocate a little bit more over here. And then repeat business. Repeat business is those referrals, right? Those $250 gift cards that you're sending out for referrals. Okay. We're going to budget that. It might not be 5%. Maybe it's only 1% of the total budget, right? So then we'd have to come up here and make sure that our numbers actually match up, which, as I'm looking at that right now, does not match up. Okay. So let's say offline marketing is 19%, 1% for repeat business, and the rest of it is going to be online marketing. So what that actually means is that over here on the right side, okay, $280,000 for online marketing is what we're going to spend. 66 and a half for offline marketing, and then 3,500 for repeat business. Okay, those obviously that number can go up and down based off how many referrals that you're getting. Okay, you can't always count on referrals, which is why we do what we do, right? To make sure that your lead flow is coming in correct all the time. So next stage is then now we need to go in and allocate what percentage of those that we're going to spend per month. We already know that quarter one, is slow, right? And there's two ways of thought here is that we can spend less during the slow times, right? Because we have less money in our pockets and we have less money flowing in. Or you could lean into your marketing a little bit more in the slow times, right? And during the busy times, we could back off. So those are kind of the two different schools of thoughts there. I tend to say spend more, right? Let's budget for it. Let's plan for it. And let's invest it during those slow times to get more people in the door. Okay. Remember, your marketing is your tip of your spear. So it's important. it's that important that if people aren't naturally coming to you, right, you're not the roofer in your market, to actually spend a little bit more money during the slow time. So this client, we decided, you know what, we're going to, in January, February, March, we're going to spend a little bit more. During April, May, June, July, we're going to spend a little bit less because we don't have to spend as much. People are already naturally seeing our trucks and signs and all of these things, okay? And they're calling us. So we don't have to spend nearly as much in those times. Yes, you have more money flowing in. Your cash flow is really good during those times, but that's the time to start setting that aside for the slow times, okay? August, September, October, all the way through December, we're going to put a little bit more money towards our marketing budgets, okay? All right, so does that make sense? Online marketing, this is the online marketing, portion here, and it'll give you the numbers and everything should add up. Just make sure that bottom number down here, that is 100%, right? Otherwise, you've got your numbers off somewhere in there, okay? Next, let's talk about offline marketing. Typically, this is a line item budget item, right, that you're going to spend about the same every single month, right? Your shirts, your hats, your truck wraps is probably done once. All of these things, it's not like you're actually going out and fluctuating it, very similar to online marketing is. So you might want to just say, this is the line item for the month or for the year, and this is what we're going to spend, allocate per month, and just leave it that way. Same thing with repeat business. That actually can go up and down and will ebb and flow, in your budget. Okay, so we just left that all the same on both of those, offline marketing and repeat business. But we fluctuated our budget on online marketing because we needed to in order to do that. Now, if you didn't follow that school of thought, right, of leaning more into your marketing during slow times, that's fine, right? You could just say, I'm going to spend the same amount every single month, no matter what. You put it all at 8.33% because 8.33 times 12 adds up to 100% almost. Where did I change that here? How did I get that to 100% over here? I don't know. So maybe over here is 8.34. No, I don't know. My math's off somewhere in the spreadsheet a little bit here. Okay. But 8.33 should get you really, really close to 100%. Okay. Any questions on any of this so far that I've gone over? Okay. Online marketing allocation. We've got 280,000. SEO, right? This is where we can kind of go into and dig into, should we allocate more to SEO, less to SEO, more to pay-per-click, less to pay-per-click, more to display retargeting ads or less, right? So this is where you can change all these numbers, and essentially you're just taking that top line number here, okay, taking this number essentially and allocating it differently over here, okay? It'll give you the total marketing budget for the year. Now, let me go back to this. SEO, you're going to spend a lot less on search engine optimization than you are on ads, typically, right? That's what we typically see. You're going to spend more on ads, but that's okay as long as your cost per acquisition is still low, okay? And you can afford to pay for those. It's when you're not paying attention and all of a sudden your cost per acquisition goes sky high and you're like, what happened there? It's not working. Well, one, your sales process might be broken, or two, the cost on that specific platform just might have skyrocketed. It happens. Okay. So you've got to keep, that's where your tracking comes in place. That's where making sure that you are paying attention to your numbers every single month comes in place. Okay. It's exactly what we do for our clients. We make sure that none of those cost per acquisitions goes way out of whack. And if it does, then we adjust. Okay. All right. Any questions on this? The rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. You change the numbers over here for SEO, change the numbers over here for pay-per-click, change the numbers over here for display retargeting. You can follow the same line of thought over here for pay-per-click, right, to match what we talked about above on, being more aggressive during times of, not enough lead flow happening, right? So we lean more into it. SEO, honestly, you're going to pay about the same for that every single, why didn't it not do it? 8.33. There we go. You're going to pay about the same for search engine optimization, for every month. So you might want to keep this as the same line item of, 8.33%, unless you want to lean into another market. In that case, you would probably have to, increase your spend on search engine optimization because there's more work to be done, right? But pay-per-click, that's where you can fluctuate your budget. Display and retargeting, it's going to be about the same. So you could probably keep that as exactly the same every single month. This is just something that is really good to do every single year. Just sit down, get it out of your brain, build a plan, okay? And then just execute that plan in the new year. This last tab over here just gives you a good idea of what the average cost per lead by source is. If you came to my, or if you go back and watch from last year, or the year before that, these numbers have drastically changed in the past year. Okay. We used to be able to get cost per acquisition, for pay-per-click leads in a lot cheaper. Right now that's showing $150 cost per acquisition. That's about average right now that we are seeing in the market, citing, $77 cost per acquisition. Sorry, not cost per acquisition, cost per lead. Okay. Cost per acquisition is going to vary based off of your sales process. So if in this case, $150 cost per lead through pay-per-click, right? And your sales process is 10%, well, your cost per acquisition is going to be $1,500. Okay. Which is pretty high. All right. So the better that you can make your sales process, the more you answer your phones, the more you're following up with people after estimates are sent, the better your sales are going to be, the better your marketing is going to work. Okay. All right. That's about it. That's about all that I have here for the workbook. All right. So these are the steps to build the ultimate marketing machine for 2026, not 2025. Jeez, Chris. All right. Fix your reputation. Reach more people today than knew about you yesterday. Resell to past customers and get referrals. All right. Referrals are gold. Those are awesome. You can have a little bit less of a sales process on those folks, a little bit less, but you still need to follow up. Okay. All right. You made it to the end. Yay. You made it to the end of this workshop. Hopefully I gave you something of value here. I'm going to give you something more. If you don't have my book in your hands, right? At least as a digital copy, you can go to go.roofingmarketingheroes.com and you can download my book. It's 336 pages of exactly what we do for our clients here at Marketing Heroes. Okay. So, be sure to go there to download it. Next, if you are a roofing company owner, right, and you love knowing how all this stuff works, but you just don't have time to implement any of this kind of stuff or build these systems yourselves, we would love to help you. And if you go to this link at roofermarketingheroes.com/schedule, you will meet with us. We will build a plan to fix your marketing and get you back on track. Just go to roofermarketingheroes.com/schedule.